Australia closes dual study visa loophole for foreign students. India tightens rice exports in threat to global food prices. China's travel rebound risks supercharging jet fuel prices. Milan records hottest day since 1763. Uganda bans imports of used clothing. Japan coalition member postpones China trip amid Fukushima spat. South Korean protesters call for government action on Fukushima water. French government to spend $216 million to destroy excess wine.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Monday, August 28th, and here are your top stories. Last Saturday, the Australian government set loopholes in its visa rules that allow international students to enroll for cheaper vocational courses as soon as they arrived in the country will be nullified effective immediately. The government will also increase the amount of savings international students will need in order to get a student visa. From October 1st, foreign students will need to show evidence of 24,505 Australian dollars in savings, up 17% increase on current levels, to take into account higher living expenses.
International students can undertake additional courses along with their core studies called the concurrent study rule, which is designed to help prepare them for the job market through short courses. However, recent investigations have identified that many were misusing this rule to ditch their university courses and permanently switch to cheaper courses. Education Minister Jason Clare said, "This change will work to stop predatory second providers from enrolling students before they have studied for the required 6 months at their first provider."
According to a notification by the Indian Finance Ministry late last Friday, the government levied a 20% export tax on parboiled rice. This move by the world's top rice exporter is likely to further squeeze global supplies. India has now restricted overseas sales of all non-basmati varieties, which account for about 80% of its total rice shipments. Its share in the global rice trade is about 40%. Parboiled rice accounts for about 1/3 of India's total rice shipments.
The Indian government said that exporters having valid letters of credit before the new rule will still be allowed to ship the grain. The export tax on parboiled rice will remain in force until October 15th. Asian rice prices soared to their highest in almost 15 years earlier this month, and could climb further, raising costs for importers such as the Philippines and some African nations. The Rice Exporters Association said global prices will rise and buyers will have to absorb the increase.
Millions of Chinese are taking to the skies again as the nation leads an aviation boom across Asia. Yet the resurgence comes with a drawback. It's likely to lift jet fuel consumption amid tight supplies, potentially supercharging prices. According to Bloomberg Fair Value data, aviation fuel prices have jumped about 30% this month compared with the start of July, trading above $116 a barrel in Singapore. Travelers could see higher fares if companies pass along those steeper costs.
On the domestic side, China's weekly flights surged 13% above pre-COVID levels in the week ending August 20th. According to Trip.com, Group China's international travel is also picking up. Bookings for overseas group tours during the National Day holiday in October more than tripled from a month ago as of August 17th. Meanwhile, global oil prices have risen more than 15% in the past 2 months. Banks such as UBS AG have adjusted their oil price forecasts upward, citing a market deficit.
Italy's Milan Environmental Protection Agency said that last Friday, the northern city registered a new record high average daily temperature of 33 Celsius last Wednesday as a heat wave which began around mid-August reached its peak. It was the hottest day since the Milano Brera weather station started recording temperatures in 1763. Milan's previous record of 32.8 degrees Celsius was set on August 11, 2003. APA said that August 23rd and 24th have been the hottest days of the summer across the whole of the Lombardy region.
The Italian capital Rome registered a record peak of 41.8 Celsius in July, as much of southern Europe broiled this summer, fueling wildfires, prompting governments to issue health warnings, and disrupting holidays for many tourists. ARPA added that intense and abnormal temperatures also hit the Italian Alps. The agency said the heatwave is about to end as it gives way to heavy thunderstorms and a sharp drop in temperatures of up to 10 to 15 C early next week.
Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has banned the importation of used clothing into the East African country, saying it stifles the development of local textile industries. Museveni said last Friday at a groundbreaking ceremony of 9 factories in the Sino-Uganda Mobile Industrial Park in Mobile City. We have people here who produce new clothes, but they cannot infiltrate the market.
Like most African countries, Uganda has traditionally imported large quantities of used clothing, which some consumers prefer because it is low cost. But local manufacturers complain the dumping of second-hand apparel swamps the market, undermining Uganda's ability to climb the value chain of the cotton and textile industry. The East African Community agreed in 2016 to a complete ban on used clothing imports by 2019, but Rwanda has been the only country to enact it.
According to a statement from his Komeito party issued last Saturday afternoon, the leader of the junior party in Japan's ruling coalition, Natsuo Yamaguchi, postponed a trip to Beijing at the request of the Chinese. Yamaguchi had been planning to visit China Monday through Wednesday. On Saturday, the Chinese side told his party that it wasn't the appropriate time to visit. According to Japanese media, Yamaguchi was planning to carry a letter from Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Earlier last week, China suspended all seafood imports from Japan in reaction to the Tokyo Electric Power Company starting the release of the wastewater. That decision led to a wave of anti-Japanese anger online in China, prompting the Japanese embassy in Beijing to put out statements warning citizens to avoid speaking Japanese too loudly in public. The Fukushima release is the latest in a string of issues which have plagued the Japan-China relationship recently, including Japan's decision to limit exports of machines to make semiconductors.
Protesters gathered in the capital of South Korea last Saturday to demand that the government take steps to avoid what they fear as a looming disaster from Japan's release of treated radioactive water from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. The Korea Radiation Watch Group said, "We will not be immediately seeing disasters like detecting radioactive materials in seafood, but it seems inevitable that this discharge would pose a risk to the local fishing industry, and the government needs to come up with solutions."
According to the group, about 50,000 people joined the protest. South Korea has said it sees no scientific problems with the water release, but environmental activists argue that all possible impacts have not been studied. The Korea Radiation Watch Group insisted, "Nobody can tell what's going to happen to the marine ecosystem in the next 100 years. Japan says storage tanks holding about 1.3 million metric tons of wastewater, which is enough to fill 500 swimming pools, are full. Thus, the country needed to start releasing the water."
According to Agence France-Presse Newswire, the French Minister of Agriculture and Food, Marc Fesneau, announced last Friday that the government will be adding to the initial €160 million fund offered by the EU to a total of €200 million to purchase the surplus wine. And the wine will be destroyed to create industrial alcohol to make items such as hand sanitizer, cleaning products, and perfume, in hopes of shoring up a struggling wine industry that is seeing changing consumption habits among younger drinkers.
AFP reported for 2023, the European Commission said that consumption of wine has fallen 7% in Italy, 10% in Spain, 22% in Germany, 34% in Portugal, and 22% in France. Meanwhile, younger drinkers are contributing to the boom in the alcohol-free drink markets, which includes non-alcoholic beer, wine, and spirits. Susie Goldspink of IWSR Drinks Market Analysis told The Guardian, last year 14% of consumers said they were abstainers, whereas this year it was up to 20%.
Now let's delve into the news of China's travel rebound risking supercharging jet fuel prices. Number 1, resurgence. 重新兴起，复苏. Police say drugs traffickers are behind the resurgence of violence. Number 2, drawback. 缺点，不利条件. The main drawback to it is the cost. Number 3, steep. 价格或要求过高的，过分不合理的. £2 for a cup of coffee seems a little steep to me. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune in to Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I'll see you next time.